Okay, so the first thing I'm going to be doing is just creating a little bit of a palette of my watercolors. So I'm going to start by using just a little bit of the different warm colors that I have. And I'm not going to use a lot of watercolor. I'm going to be using, because I'm going to be painting a very small area, I'm not going to put out a lot of watercolor. I'm just putting just a little bit of each color. Oops. Now this watercolor sometimes actually stays on the bottom until it's starting, so you start using it. And so that sometimes happens. The water kind of is up at the top, or whatever it is that it's made out of. And some of these colors are very, very similar, and I'm just going to not worry about it at this point. I'm going to just put some color out, because I will be blending and kind of like mixing colors as well. Okay, so let's get some blue here. This is teal. It's like one of my favorite color blues. I like to use blue and orange as a color scheme in my paintings. Okay, so I've got water, and I'm going to just wet my surface, even though this is not watercolor paper. I'm just going to wet my surface just a little bit. Not saturating it, but just a little bit of water. Okay. So if I'm going to be doing a high horizon, that means the horizon line is going to be at the top, and most of this is going to be, like if you're doing like landscape, this would be the top of the landscape. But if you're doing just an abstract, then you're really not worried about that. Okay, so I'm just going to start putting in some color. And I'm not trying to really get anything specific, because this is like a landscape, but it's also very much like an abstract. And I'm keeping my brush strokes also. I'm keeping those brush strokes horizontal. Now, if I want to do, say, a color over a color and I don't want it to blend, then I would dry it. But in this case, I'm not really worried about what it's going to look like, because it's just for, like, practice, I'm not going to think about making it anything specific. It's just one layer on my paper. Because what I might do, in fact I probably will, is come back and put some collage in. So this is just a way that you can kind of get the feel of a high horizon on a vertical format. You can do this in acrylics as well. You can also do this in something else. You don't have to necessarily stick with watercolor. But I think it's a good way to just get an idea of the this particular format. Now this paper is not really watercolor paper, so it's not going to act like real watercolor paper. It's not going to have the absorbency that it needs, and so it might actually require to be dry. You know, you might actually have to dry it before you go to the next layer or the next part of the process. But you just want to get one layer on first. You know, your first thing is just to get your surface covered with one layer. And the idea is it's a high horizon, and then the rest is the rest of the format. So I might even put a little bit of blue and orange together. Which will make another color. Actually, it's kind of an orange, kind of like a brown. So it's still in the color scheme that I'm using because it's a combination of blue and orange, even though it's not true orange or true blue anymore. It's just a combination. Okay. So now I'm going to take a paper towel and just kind of dot off some of the extra paint around the edge. And I'm going to dry this and come back and we will start the next layer.